إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده وأشهد أن محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. وقال الله سبحانه وتعالى إن الذين كفروا من أهل الكتاب والمشركين في نار جهنم خالدين فيها أولئك هم شر البرية إن الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات أولئك هم خير البرية. وبعد فيا إخوة الإيمان, my beloved, respected brothers and sisters, we are once again gathered here with the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to express our gratitude and to obey and worship Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during the week blesses our week with so many wonderful things. And so once a week we come here and we gather as a token of our commitment and an expression of our thanks to Him. We are asked to pray 5 times every day, but on Friday we are asked to leave our homes and to come to the communal gathering of Muslims in the different masajid and other places as well. And so, whenever we gather like this, we must seize the opportunity to use this time to make our affairs right with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to ask from Him, to forgive us, to guide us, to help us, to protect us. In the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bring the message to the people, there were 3 main groups of people who his calling was focused on, because those were the main groups that occupied Arabia at that time. One was the people who were called the mushrikeen, the idol worshippers. The second was Christians, and the third were Jews. And so a lot of the Quran and its message addresses itself to these 3 types of people: the Jews, the Christians, and the unbelievers, the idol worshippers, and those who rejected the concept of one God. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the ayahs that I read talks about these 2 groups, and He says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا, those who disbelieve from among. And He uses a terminology in the Quran to group the Jews and the Christians in a special category called Ahlul Kitab, people of the book. And so He says, those who disbelieve from the people of the book, the Christians and Jews, and the mushrikeen and the idol worshippers, those people who disbelieve, they will be in the fire. And they will be considered the worst kind of people. And those who believe and do good works, then they will be considered the best of creatures and creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, what has happened is that we find ourselves today in America also by and large dealing with these 3 main groups. We have this is considered a Christian country, so there's a majority of people in the country are Christians. And then we have a very active and dynamic community of Jews. And then we have a large and ever-growing body of idol worshippers, atheists, and people who agnostics, and varying degrees of people who express disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so we, in a sense, have a similar situation that what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam faced. And the 2 most prominent groups in America are the Jews and the Christians. And now it has become the Muslims who are most discussed in the news, in the media. And so these 3 religions are the most in the media, most discussed, most of what people care about. Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And it's really important for us as Muslims to have a cursory understanding in relation to these 2 faiths. One, first of all, this Ahlul Kitab, Christians and Jews, we are asked to cultivate with them a special relationship. And that is, we can marry from their women, we can eat from their fruit. And so we have been asked to create a special relationship with them. Also, these two faiths, along with Islam, trace their origins and their beginnings to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had two sons, Isaac and Ismail. The Muslims' strain came from Ismail, and the Jewish came from Isaac and Jacob, and then the 12 sons became the tribes of Bani Israel and so on. And so there are many similarities between these three faiths, and there are many differences. And in relation to the concept of God, the Jewish faith has a very strong belief in one God, who is all-seeing, all-powerful, and very close to the Islamic concept of God. There was a particular set of Jews in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, it's mentioned in the Quran, Uzair, that they considered Uzair as the son of God. But this small group of people did not continue with that teaching. And so today, Jews don't really consider anyone to be the son of God. They have a belief that God is separate and similar to Muslims. The Christians also believe in one God, but they have a slight variation in that their God is a triune God, as they call it. A God that has three parts to its entity. And the Muslims, of course, believe in Qul Huwallahu Ahad, Allahu Samad, that we believe in a God who is one, absolute, who don't have children, and so on. The Jews consider the humanity as the children of God. Islam do not have this concept of children of God. We do not consider human beings to be children of God. The Jews and Christians and the Muslims have holy books. The Christians have what is called the Bible, and the Jews have several, the Torah, the Talmud, and they have other scriptures as well. And then in Islam we have the Quran. We believe that the Quran is the unadulterated word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, revealed to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and has been preserved in the exact way it was revealed and came to us. We do not believe that the Quran was ever changed. The Christians among themselves have many different opinions about their Bible, and they don't really hold it is the writings of people writing a kind of history of what took place. We believe Isa alayhi salam, Jesus came with a book called Injil, but it's not the Bible. That this book was corrupted and it's no longer in its correct format. And so what we call the Injil is not what the Christians call the Bible. And the Jews, their book, Musa alayhi salam, had the Torah or the Tawrat. We believe that this is not what the Jews call Torah, that this also was destroyed and got corrupted. But the Jews' book mainly consists of a historical record of all their works and strivings and throughout their civilization. So their religious book contains mainly historical documents. In the Quran, our book contains many instructions for guidance on how to live and what's going to happen here, what is going to happen after we die, concept of Allah, of Akhirah, and so on. So they are very different in the way they are designed. In terms of belief in the hereafter, the Christians believe there's a paradise and that those who do good will enter there. The Muslims believe in a paradise and also a hellfire. The Jews don't have a very unified concept of hereafter. They are splintered among themselves about what is going to happen after you die. Some of them allow reincarnation, some of them said they're going to go back with Allah, with a God. They don't have a very clear, and they don't spend a lot of time discussing or worrying about hereafter. They spend all their focus about what is happening in their life here. They classify their religion as a celebration of life as lived on the earth. So they don't have a lot of time spent in terms of Akhirah. The most discussed part and aspect of Islam is about the concept of the hereafter. Islam and the Quran contains more information about the hereafter than any other religious book. And the Muslim is extremely concerned and focuses his life with the concept of the hereafter being a very big deal. We strive mainly to secure a good place in the hereafter. And that our life here is not an end in itself, but actually a preparation for our final abode in the hereafter. All three of these religions have concept of good, that you must do good in the world, and that good will win, and good will be rewarded. And so they all have this concept. In terms of prophets, Christians believe in prophets, that they were special people sent with divine instruction from God to teach humanity. Muslims believe that too. The Jews also believe in prophets. The difference is the Muslims believe that the prophets of God don't commit sin. Because since they are sent as the example for the people, they cannot be sinful people. And so we don't believe that the prophets went about committing sins. All three of these faiths, they also believe in the dignity of human being, that the human beings are all the most important and precious creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so there are many similarities and differences between Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. With Christianity, the Muslims have three main problems or differences between Muslims and Christians. And the first one is the aspect of the concept of God. Christians believe that God has three parts: God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost. And that these three are equal aspects of God coming together and forming one God. For the Muslim, it's a very difficult thing to understand and to be able to logically decipher. And so Muslims always have a problem in understanding this concept of Godhead that Christianity believes in. For us, God is one, indivisible. And the second problem we have with Christians, or difference of opinion with them, is a concept called the concept of original sin. Original sin means that both Muslims believe that Adam alayhi salam, he committed when he and Hawa. The Christian version is a little bit different from the Muslim. The Christian version say that it is Eve who did the deed, and so they have used this as a way to actually, throughout their history, treat women in a very bad way, as they are the ones who cause humanity to fall. In the Quran, we don't have that concept. It was mentioned that both of them ate from the tree. But the Christians take it a step further, and they said that sin gets inherited by every single human being. And so it's a concept of original sin, in that every person who gets born now inherits the sin of Adam. And so, in order to get salvation, you have to believe in Jesus. Jesus holds a special place in Christianity, which I'll talk about shortly. The Muslims believe that every single human being is born on the fitrah and pure without sin. And so if the baby gets born and it dies, it goes to paradise. The sins are those things which we consciously commit, knowing right and wrong, and then make a decision to choose wrong. So we do not have this concept of the son inheriting the sins of the father. And the third difference we have with Christianity is this issue of the crucifixion of Jesus. As Allah tells us, that we don't believe he was killed or crucified. The Christians believe that Jesus was crucified today and that he arose on Sunday. Amen. So we have very specific difference of opinion with the Christians on this matter. In relation to Jesus himself, Christians believe that Jesus was the Son of God. That he came to earth, manifested himself in human flesh in order to sacrifice himself, to save all of us, and to give us salvation. So Jesus took upon himself to absolve all of us of blame by taking all that we may do and contain it in his sacrifice. And so his being crucified on the cross and raising on the Sunday, if you believe in him, then your sins will be absolved and you just would not be held accountable. because the Son of God came down to help us to be able to have salvation. The Jews believed that Jesus was an ordinary man. His mother was of no consequence. It's not important. He was just a regular guy that came, lived, and they believe he was crucified and he died. They have no relation to anything concerning Jesus. The greatest prophet in their book is Musa alayhi salam, Moses. And the Muslims believe that Jesus was a prophet of God that came, was given many miracles, was one of the great prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was a regular human being, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala caused him to be raised up to himself, and he will return one day. The Muslims are required to believe in Jesus. It is an article of faith to believe in all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so you cannot be a Muslim unless you accept that Jesus, was one of the great prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The mother of Isa alayhi salam, Maryam, is considered among one of the 4 greatest women. In fact, she's considered to be the greatest woman that ever walked the face of the earth. There's a whole chapter. She's the only sister mentioned by name in the Quran, Maryam, the mother of Isa. And Jesus alayhi salam is mentioned over 25 times in the Quran. So for the Muslims, Jesus is a very integral part of the reality of the religion of Islam, but from a very different perspective of the Christian. Now, we are here today what is called Good Friday. Good Friday and these few days, and in the days before these, are considered to be among the holiest days for Christians and Jews, but for very different reasons. You see, the Christians, they consider that Jesus was crucified today and he was raised up on Sunday. And then they have what is called, as part of a celebration of all of this, they have something called Lent, which is a season. It's literally a season. It began on March the 1st, on what is called Ash Wednesday. For those growing up in the Caribbean or places where there are Christians, you will remember growing up when Ash Wednesday arrived, because every Christian would have a dot of ash on their forehead. You would have to go to the church, and then they would put a dot of ash on your forehead, and then you come to work or school, and you would see your Christian friends with all of them with this dot of ash on their forehead. March the 1st began Ash Wednesday. And then for 40 days, which ended yesterday, Christians are expected to fast for 40 days. Their fast is a little bit different from us. Their fast is not to eat meat. You can eat fish, and so you will find, if you're a good fish merchant, this is the moment when the 40 days before today, when you could really sell a lot of fish to Christians. Because they eat a lot of meat, a lot of fish. They are not allowed to eat chicken, beef, goat, cow, and all of that stuff during those 40 days. And they're encouraged to eat 1 meal a day and eat a lot of fish. And they can drink anything that they would like to drink during this fast. But that's their fast. And they make atonement, they ask for forgiveness, and so on. And so it's a very auspicious moment for Christians during this last 40 days. And then it culminates with today, and then on Sunday there will be a big, huge gathering in the churches in which they have Mass, and they have the ceremony in which they continue to pray and so on. So for Christians, this period of time is really very important to them. For the Jews, they have what is called Passover. And what it is, it has nothing to do with Jesus. It is a celebration of the Bani Israel who was freed from the bondage of Pharaoh and fled Egypt. And so this Passover time is a period in which they celebrate, literally, it's a freedom celebration, in which they celebrate the freedom of the Jewish people from the bondage in Egypt as they left with Musa alayhi salam to free themselves from Pharaoh. And the Jewish celebration is for 8 days. And so it began around April the 10th and it ends around April the 17th. And they have 8 days. And what they do, it's mainly eating, singing, and reading from the books of history. So they have, especially the first 2 nights of this Passover, are the most important nights in which families gather, and in fact in the synagogues they gather for a special meal that have very special items on it. And they would sing songs and read from their books, and then they would eat this meal, this communal meal, and as a celebration of this event. And it will go on for 8 days of eating and singing and reading from their scriptures and asking for atonement and so on, and remembering this beautiful freedom. Please come forward as much as you can. We are happy to coming in. And so that is a brief idea of the people who are our neighbors, the Christians and the Jews. And they, as I mentioned before, are the 2 most prominent religious gathering of people in this country. Now, as Muslims, it is really important to understand what is the nature of our relationship with Jews and Christians. And there are several things we are told in our faith how we have to relate to Christians and Jews. The first one is that we are asked to respect their faith. We should not go about, as we are told, to condemn their God, for they in ignorance may condemn Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we are asked to respect their faith, because there is la ikraha fi ddin, there is no compulsion in religion. We cannot compel people to practice any faith. And so respect is the first thing. The second thing is we are not allowed to hate anyone. No Muslim is allowed to hate another human being. What we hate are actions of people, not the people themselves. So you can't go to your aunt and uncle and say, I hate you. I don't like how you look. My spirit don't take you. And all these other expressions. We hate actions of people, not the people themselves. Because that person whose action you hate today may tomorrow accept Islam and become your close brother. And if you hated them as a person, then it will be very difficult for you to accept them when they change their actions. We do not hate people. We hate actions of people. Thirdly, we must never generalize about any religion or nationality. You do not say and speak with loose tongue and say, you see those Jews? And we put all of them in one category. Or those Christians, or those Chinese, or those this and that and that. Never do that. For among all races and all people and all religions are good people and bad people. People are people. Individually, they control their own behavior. And when you lump them in one category and categorize them and then makes an aspersion, Chinese people can't drive good on the road, or something like that. This is not what we do. For we don't like when it's done to us, and it's being done to us today, in which we get lumped into one category and an aspersion cast against it. This is not the way of Islam. So in dealing with people of other faiths, never ever generalize with them. Fourthly, we are asked to engage them in useful discussion, with dialogue and constructive discussion, because we have an obligation to share Islam to everyone, to share the beauty of our faith to all that we encounter. This is part of the command from Allah, to have to invite people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But the way you do it is in good discussion and debate with people. And when you do those debates, spend your time talking about the beauty of Islam instead of talking about why the Bible has 5,000 mistakes or why this. Instead of spending your time condemning and criticizing their teachers, spend your time talking about the beauty of what your faith has. Because what happens, in the old days they would give da'wah, they would try to first break down the other person's faith. But you haven't convinced them about the beauty of Islam, so you have to now go all over again and say, okay, now I've destroyed your belief in your Christianity, now I have to now prove why Islam is the one you should pick. We don't do that. You share the beauty of your message to people and leave them to either accept or reject. Our task is not to convert people to Islam. Our task is to share the message with the people. And then they have to decide And Allah is the one who ultimately guides the hearts of people to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Fourthly, we must always seek to set an example in our personal life when we interact with others, in our jobs, in our businesses, everywhere we go. The best proof that Islam is haq should be seen in the way you live your life. When someone look at you, they should see the beauty of Islam by the way you manifest it in your reality, in your surroundings, in your generosity, in your kindness. That is the best da'wah to people. Because then they will say, wow, your Islam has done this for you and made you such a special person. Whilst mine, whatever it is I belong to, hasn't done that for me. So many converts to Islam influence their family members, their mothers and their fathers, because of the changes they made in their lives that impressed their initial hostile parents to take a second look and says, I don't know what kind of voodoo religion you accepted, but it has certainly made you stop drinking, stop doing drugs, stop being disrespectful. Whatever it is you've accepted, it has changed your life in a way that I was trying my whole life to make you like this. And has caused many relatives of converts to accept Islam, our personal life. And lastly, we have an obligation to work on the principle of ta'awun ala al-birr wa taqwa, to cooperate with all people on the basis of righteousness and taqwa. And so we must develop coalitions and work with non-Muslims on projects that we mutually are concerned about. Projects of poverty, of homelessness, of domestic abuse, of mental health. There are so many issues in which Jews, Christians, and Muslims are daily working at to be able to solve. And rather than each trying to do it on its own, we Muslims must reach out to these groups and say, let's do it together. We both agree on this, that this is a common project. And we are asked to work with others on the basis of this principle, that is going to have a mutual benefit for the society. And so this is how we deal with the Christians and the Jews. And so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us to be able to be good examples and to develop good relationships, because this is the reality that we are in. We're living in a multicultural, pluralistic society, and we have to be able to get along. Lastly, I want to say, in my country growing up, this season was called kite season. In Guyana, on Monday, this be the day when everybody goes to the beach and we fly kites. And I want to say, some people believe that this kite flying business is because of an expression of Jesus rising. Actually, the kite was developed in China over 2,000 years before Christ even was born. So kite was around long before Isa alayhi salam's crucifixion. And it has absolutely nothing to do with the rising of Jesus on Sunday. So it's okay to go fly your kites. It has nothing to do with religion. Okay? قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه ونشهد ان لا اله الا الله وحده ونشهد ان محمدا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم وبعد ربنا اتنا في الدنيا حسنه وفي الاخره حسنه وقنا عذاب النار. O Allah, we ask of you to give all those who are striving in your way the confidence and the conviction in the truth. We ask of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help all those who are sick, to make them healing, especially our brother Shafiq, who is not here today. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him full recovery and be able to bless him and his family always for all that he has done for us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all of you, protect you and guide you and keep you on good. O Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we ask you to help all those who are suffering in every part of the world. O Allah, continue to put hope and iman and faith in their heart. O Allah, inspire all of us to make a difference and do something to be able to help in all that is happening around us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to learn our deen and to be able to practice it each and every day. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to prepare for Ramadan and to have the best Ramadan in our lives, inshaAllah. ربنا إننا سمعنا مناديا ينادي للإيمان أن آمنوا بربكم فآمنا نستغفر الله الذي لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم ونتوب إليه إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله يذكركم وأقيموا